Okay, in our previous video about texture, I talked about how you're going to make a creature that has a texture. So we are going to play around with what parts does a creature have, and you get to kind of make those. But you also get to decide what kind of textures do you want to include. You could have some areas of your monster that are smooth textures or rough textures, bumpy textures, lumpy textures, soft textures, woven textures, jagged textures, rigid textures, hard textures, and so many more. I'm not really sure what this one, it looks like a chicken pox texture. I'm not really sure what you'd call that. This one down here looks kind of scaly. This one here looks a little bit speckled. I'm not really sure I'd want to be petting his tongue no matter what, but it definitely looks like an interesting texture. You are going to have to choose 3 textures to put on your creature. So for this creature, you're going to think about what are the different parts to a monster. We're going to play a little game that comes up with those pieces, or I might be teaching things out of order, so you may have already played the game. And we talked about the different parts that a monster would have, and you're going to choose which one you want in your final copy. You're going to look at the different textures things have. We were looking at the Where the Wild Things Are book, and you can see all these different furry and hairy and leafy and scaly and stripy kind of textures. You can recreate some of those and plan which ones you want to use in yours. So we'll practice with the texture, and then you can go back over and add those to your design. So here they took the practice and made it in color. And now we're going to look at the back. So now you're going to pick what monster you actually want to do. I'm not going to make you draw 3 monsters. You guys can pick 1 monster because we will have already practiced it. And then after you've done your monster, you're going to add the color to your monster like you practiced on the previous slide. And then you're going to make up your creature bio. You're going to write his biography. Who is he? What's he like? What's he do? And you can see these questions right here. What is your monster's name? What does he eat? Is it a mean or a nice monster? Well, in our case, creature, but yes. Where does your creature live? And where did your monster get his parts from? So, like, what animals did you pull your inspiration from? These ones down here are really important to remember. You want to fill up your whole space. I don't want to see a teeny tiny monster this size when our whole paper is this much space. That's too much white space around him. You want to make sure you do your outline in a black marker so it has a nice high contrast and it stands out. And you want to make sure that your visual textures are very clear so that I know where the different textures are. You can use more than 3 textures, but I'd like you to use at least 3. And yes, smooth does count as a texture. And the last one is you want to practice your color blending, so it shouldn't just be like a solid color just kind of scribbled all over everywhere. You want to use intentional coloring so it's not kind of a mess. Again, just to kind of repeat some of these textures, there's bubbly, wrinkly, soft, spiky, fluffy, furry, cracked, spotted, spongy, and so many more. You can always come up with more ideas than just what's here. To show you some examples of what these different projects look like, here is some student work of stuff that's been created in the past. So you can see we've got like pebbly, and we've got some furry kind of stuff down here. Maybe it's hairy. We've got this like crisscross kind of woven stuff. He's got real like this mohawk's got a real like texture of these hairlines going up here with this real jagged edge. He's got a spotted or bumpy kind of belly with his little frog legs. You can do this guy here. He always makes me laugh. Sorry, I just love the yellow teeth. You can do kind of this like scaly look. You can do these kind of stripy dashed lines. You can do 2 different types of striped lines. This one's more irregular. This one's more even and regular. We've got a couple more here. You can see this one's more based on a pig. This one looks like a pineapple with a fishtail coming out of it and like a chicken wing. We got here, this one always reminds me of a dodo bird or some sort of dinosaur. He looks kind of like a little troll with these little antennas coming off his head. Finally, this one here, it's like a flamingo and a lizard had a baby together and they made this creature. But you can see all these different textures all over everywhere. Some of them are repeated, some of the colors get repeated, but they have a whole bunch of different options. So that's about it. Now it's time for you guys to get creative.